laws of science, and it became like really contradictive because I felt like I was boxing creation in. And so I think what you said holds true. If we are to believe in miraculous creation, then we got to kind of put
We
science to
can
the
absolutely
side.
believe in miraculous creation because there's proof of intelligent design.
Right? Yeah, I know there is, but I'm saying like if
Are you a
you're
flat earther, fresh grown flowers, or what?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Are you? Oh, my bad. I'll stop.
No, I was just curious. I didn't know. I got it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I am. But I'm saying like when I found myself in the flat Earth debates of like arguing scientific fact over
What's your best case for flat earth
miraculous
then?
capability, just pressure and water,
Okay.
pressure requiring containment, water always finding its level on the surface, you know, gases.
We observe level everywhere we go.
But yeah, I just found myself like I personally felt kind of contradictory inside. Like I felt like I was boxing God into science and only allowed to say flat Earth only exists because of science. And it's like I don't think God's boxed into that, and He could do things. I'm not saying that it's a globe floating in space at all by any means, even though if we're going to go down that line of thought, it could be. But from our observations, it doesn't appear to be that.
Yeah, the actual I know you said you don't like invoking the Bible or whatever, but it does talk about the mysteries of the luminaries, like something we'll never understand. That was mentioned also in Dead Sea Scrolls, which was written 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, and that's kind of like what I guess, like the foundation of what I'm saying. It's like it's not. We were mocked in Job, not just us, but Job himself, like about the information. Who was there, who can know these things, who can lay a line across it and measure it. So it was kind of humbling. It's like, okay, well, I can lay back and not be so overly invested into the argument because I know, God's in control no matter what. I can't argue his point for him because I don't know what his point was.
Well, the whole foundation of the good model of the stars and the sun is founded on the fact that we're moving. That would be something you need to prove to like explain the model of the globe model, like of the stars moving. If you're saying it's because we're spinning, then you need to set a foundation first of all and prove that we're actually moving to make that even reasonable.
Is an ever expanding cosmos necessary in the globe model?
Yeah, it seems like everything's moving away from us. It seems like we're at the center according to you guys' model. But of course, that's just a philosophical bias where they say that that just seems like it's like that from everywhere instead of just from here.
But it's not necessary for the model. The shape and motion of Earth in the solar system is not dependent on the deep solar system and the far edge of astrophysics research.
Seems like we're in the middle though.
That's okay.
I mean,
Well,
and
if
you just have to reject that evidence based on the idea that it's like that everywhere, and they even admit it. That's just a philosophical bias. There's no evidence of that.
Well, there's plenty of evidence for the solar system and our motion around it and the other planets. Outside the solar system, not necessary.
What's the best evidence that we're moving?
Observation, all kinds of observation.
Wouldn't that just be evidence that those things are moving?
Well, no, because then that raises too many conflicts. Look at what Ptolemy had to come up with all those spirograph spirals, as opposed to just simple, nearly circular orbits. So
What about
you want to go with the crazy Ptolemy epicycles. Well, now you're talking something very complicated, very, very complicated. Laws of motion mean nothing, as opposed to the laws of motion perfectly explain these simple, elegant, godly, nearly circular orbits of planets around the sun.
I don't think the tilting and wobbling and spiraling is
Well,
necessarily simple.
well, no, because that wobbling. What units? How much is this wobble? We're talking like milli arc seconds per year of wobble, 400-day cycle of polar polar change on a cycle. It's for a year long that moves, literally a couple of arc seconds of longitude and latitude. So it's not like wobbling like a teacup at the carnival.
I mean, still tilting, wobbling, spiraling, and flying through space. Not very simple to me.
Yeah, but it's also you put the quantities on there. You see, you're talking such minute oscillations.
It almost makes it harder to believe because then it's like now we have to go off the trust factor of you and your measurements and the capability of you achieving that. It's like if it's so minute on such a large scale, then how can you be so sure that you have it pinned down?
Well, they've been working on it for the past couple of 100 years by every observatory in every industrialized country in the world. So, I got to go with the high science, the academic collaborations to try to, they compete. They try to make each other look wrong.
Yeah, they want to affirm the model. They don't want to find truth. They just want to make each other look wrong. That's a good explanation there, Shoebill. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
No,
here
they
comes
don't.
Shoebill just appealing to authorities left, right, and center. Go ahead, Taylor.
They do want to make others look wrong, not whenever it comes to controversial topics. I'll tell you that. Because they're not going to like disprove some controversial topic. They will not get published.
Exactly. They just want to disprove each other, but along the same narrative.
My boss who did evolutionary research literally said the same thing. They said most fields of science easily get overthrown, except for in evolutionary biology. They act like it's fact. It's very weird. She said when she was growing up researching at Johns Hopkins, they were constantly overthrowing different topics. But when it came to evolution, it was something you could not touch.
Yeah, and what would happen if you did challenge that topic? What would be the consequence?
I mean, you can imagine.
Well, I would like to have like a list of consequences. I think it's a fair argument, or at least it should be part of the argument.
Go look at
If they're gonna
yeah.
bully people, then it should be in the arsenal of things we talk about.
Yeah, what's his name? The organic chemist. I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, he like couldn't get certain prizes because he was like believing in intelligent design and stopped getting like a lot of funding and stuff. I don't know why I can't think of his name because I know him. Anyway, I'll DM him too when I think of it. James Tour is his name. And he's talked about the consequences.
I thought James Tour didn't believe in evolutionary biology. Or, I mean, he does. He does believe in it.
No, he doesn't. He's a Christian.
He believes in intelligent design and like he particularly
believe in
attacks abiogenesis, but still with that he still got like outcasted and prevented from having awards. And he's talked about the like literally his colleagues have told him like we cannot give you this award because you're supporting this. Like it's crazy.
Well, so he believes in both. Abiogenesis is kind of a different topic, but he believes in like evolutionary biology as a way to explain biology and its mechanisms and its utility of it. He believes that's true, right?
I don't know. I've never heard him talk about evolution. I've heard him only talk about abiogenesis, so I couldn't tell you.
So that would be I'm almost certain on this. That means that if you hadn't heard him talk about that and you've only heard him talk about abiogenesis, I'm almost certain I'm correct here. I'll try and get a reference.
Nah, I'm pretty sure he does not believe in evolution. He's
He
a Christian, bro.
He tries to keep the topics of abiogenesis and evolution separate because they really are completely different. I don't like mixing them either. But yeah, I've never heard him mention. I just heard him talk about like intelligent design and origin of life research. But either way, because he's attacking that, the origin of life, research. Like he is prevented from getting certain awards and funding.
Yeah, I mean it's a political problem. That sucks. I'll be honest with you, because there are some interesting things here. I don't believe evolutionary biology can explain everything. I believe at some point, I'm still a big agnostic about it. But yeah, that's too bad, and that's I see that as a political thing.
I feel like singing "We Are the Champions." I don't know. Ever since Ripple won, I just been on top of the world.
You won the lottery, Dieslow? What's going on?
Almost, not yet. Getting there though. Yeah, Ripple. Well, the SEC dropped their appeal, so technically the case isn't over completely yet. The SEC is like, if it was a boxing match, they'd be down on one knee with the ref counting to 10. Put it that way. So get your bags packed, dude, because next stop is the moon.
I'm gonna sell Kush on the moon.
Yeah, moon rocks.
Think the buzz will get bigger if I get on the moon and get closer to the sun?
Well, if you were to take a seed or or even like a test tube tissue culture sample, like an in vitro sample, and send it up to high altitudes. I forget exactly which specific altitude it is, but point being, you can revitalize the genetics. There was a scientist. He took a cherry seed from some Japanese cherry tree, and he sent it up with like a weather balloon and tracked it with like a GPS. And after it came back down, retrieved the seed, planted it, and within about, I want to say, a year and a half to 3 years, it started flowering, which typically it takes about 7. So, and I guess the tree, like, I don't know, grew a lot. It was like a lot bigger and hardier. So it definitely does something. Like if you were to, like I said, if you were to take a small tissue sample or a seed and float it up high enough and retrieve it, you'd see some distinct characteristics within that phenome type.
Dude, it's like
Changing.
it almost sounds like a detox process. Like it cleans out the genetics. You send it up, it spruces that shit up, gets rid of all your HLVD and shit, bring it back down, and run it.
Yeah, it's really bizarre, dude. I don't know exactly what's happening, but there are definitely some results there.
That would be pretty interesting to see them take like mutated genetics and send them up, and then bring them back down and see if there's any variations on the plants when they grow. Like if it does anything, like if they feminize one and get it pretty dialed in on the characteristics, and then do that and see if they can reverse it. That'd be weird.
How high
Right.
up you got to bring the seed?
Again, I don't remember what altitude. I know that they used like a Mylar space balloon, so it was like a like a low Earth.
Yeah, a high
I don't know if
altitude balloon, bro. We know balloons work. You don't know how high.
130 at the most. That's where they all pop.
as high as you on a Friday night.
Fuck yeah.
You can't get that high. So
Nah,
It's interesting though, whenever things are grown too high, like on a mountain, like whenever I was climbing Mount Elbert, there was like a grow line, like a tree line, like basically where everything stopped growing at a certain altitude. It just became bare rock.
Well, I
Yeah.
was saying this about we were talking about stress the other day, and you need some stress, but too much stress will do it in. Like there's a thing where they try to recreate a biodome so we could go live on Mars or some shit. And inside the biodome, the trees were just falling over because there was no wind. So
Uh,
maybe when you put the seed up high like this, it's stressing it out a little bit and making it better or something. Yeah, that's pretty
yeah.
interesting.
Stress does do that in a lot of
I'd love
plants,
to
dude.
see.
It
Go ahead.
brings out its like protection, especially in cannabis alone. It brings out stress, like brings out all of its protection factors, which is what we translate into potency, like all the trichomes and resin and stuff. Those are protectants to keep
What
Shouts
pollinators
out
from
to
pollinating.
Polly Shore from Biodome.
what did they say? Hold on.
Such a good movie.
What did they say happened to the seed? They grew the seed and then what? It was bigger thing, or
Yeah, it rooted and flowered like months faster than it should have normally.
yeah, it was probably that little bit of stress. Dude, that is dope, dude. We should do that with next time someone sends a high altitude balloon up. I mean, can you find the information on that, Dieslow, or
Yeah, I'm sure I could. Yeah, I'm sure I could do like a small Google search and find it.
And that plant tree line makes sense, right? Oxygen levels decrease the higher we go up. If there's no oxygen, the plants can't breathe.
I
But
mean,
you
that's
also
worth sending high altitude balloons up for, dude. If you could think if you told a farmer, you're like, yo,
exactly.
one high altitude balloon, we're gonna send you all your seeds up in a basket or something. And then when they come down, we'll get them, and your crops will be bigger, better, whatever. Yeah, it'd be pretty interesting. I'm sure a lot of dispensaries would love to know about this too.
You ain't lying, dude. Even like you said, the tissue culture. Have you guys seen? I don't want to segue too much onto that world, but have you guys seen like the new advancements with the tissue culture from the Athena group, where they have like it's a toolbox you can buy for about $2,000, and it comes with all the agar, all the equipment, sterilizing tank, like all this stuff. And it's basically like you can build your own genetic library at home with tissue culture
The
instead of just having seeds on deck trying to store fucking folders full of them.
Yeah. Well, the seeds supposedly only last so long.
Yeah.
I mean, there's debate on that even, but point is, yeah, like anytime you're going to like in vitro, you're gonna remove like a ton of issues from the genetics, whether it be a systemic disease or um, powdery mildew, even. There's a lot of things, beneficial things, but point is like you can have 1,000 freaking clones in a shoebox. So it's a way to
Yeah.
it's kind of a way to efficiently establish real estate for your grow lab. But there's a lot more benefits to it. It does take a lot of time. Like I have gone from literally a test tube sample to a full plant, and it does take quite a bit of time to acclimate it and to kind of get it going again.
Yeah.
But
Getting it out of that agar solution shit into actual media.
I saw another
right,
thing where the guy either blocked out or only let through UV light or something, or some spectrum of light, and he said he got tomatoes to grow crazy, like cherry tomatoes were growing bigger than regular tomatoes, and it was more tomatoes, and it was growing faster, like it was crazy.
What
so
about that? Go
there's a
ahead.
state, I forget what state it is. I want to say Alaska, maybe. They're known for the largest vegetables. Like I think it has something to do with the magnetic field exposure. But I
Hmm.
mean, this is where you're getting like these giant fucking pumpkins and cucumbers and you name it, dude. Like everything's on fucking oversized, bro, in this one specific spot, this one specific state. You'll have
You,
to look into it.
Yeah,
did
there's
you see
probably
that?
so much we don't know, and they're not telling us about about food production and shit. I'd have to imagine.
Yeah.
Did you see that Japanese guy? I don't know if it was like Virginia Tech or something, some university. He put a tomato plant, which turned into a tomato tree inside like this giant plexiglass kind of mini biodome, and just oversaturated levels of CO2 and oxygen in it. And it came out with like dinner plate sized tomatoes, and it pumped out hundreds of them inside this. It's really cool to look at.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly what variable it is that they're experiencing, but it could be the sunlight as another thing. Because in Alaska they've got longer days depending on the season and longer nights. So there
Well,
could be
yeah, I
another
mean,
factor there.
yeah, you got your photon meters, right? So that can increase if you get the right par on that canopy, dude, you're going to get a lot more exponential growth. And
I
that's
call
why I
them
was like
lumen meters. I
facetiously
don't really believe
joking.
in
Like,
photons.
well, I mean, they work on the lights. I don't know, but they work.
Yeah.
But either way, that's why I was like facetiously joking. Like maybe if we got on the moon and got quote unquote closer, we could get some fat swells.
We'll just put a Fresnel lens on it, dude.
And some electroculture poles hooked up. I still want
Maximize
to
the
do an
amount of,
outdoor test.
input of light exposure.
I want to do a test in a controlled environment and actually document. I haven't seen electroculture documented full process side by side test results. All you see is like just big luscious vegetables and people with a copper wire stuck in the ground. Like, look what I did. But there's
Well,
no
most of those guys,
documentation of like side by side comparison.
most of the guys that are setting up those electroculture flower beds, like, aren't even really doing it right. There's some specific things that have to be met, from the geometry of how you bend the wire to how deep you set your copper pipe to ground it. I mean, there's a lot of variables involved. But yeah, it would be interesting to see somebody that actually know how to set that array up and their yield.
Yeah, because if I understand it right, it only feeds like if you put one of those rods in the ground, it's not huge, but it only gives like a quote unquote reactive effect in a small like square foot area around where that pole is. It's not like your whole fucking yard's gonna produce giant
Dude, I
bowling
bet
ball tomatoes.
the Great
Yeah.
Pyramid, could have been something to do with food production because Egypt was the
Dude, your
peak
segue
of.
perfect. Did you see that new release about all that stuff on the middle pyramid, not the Giza, but the other one, and like the huge giant 2 kilometer deep foundations that are attached to the base of that?
I just heard about that from my coworker this morning. He said that there's like these huge like pylons that go deep into the ground underneath I think it
Two
was Giza.
kilometers. 2 kilometers, bro, from what I saw. And these like visualization of these pylons, they seem to have like from the graph that was shown that I saw, it looks like a large scale of this electroculture that we're talking about. There's some type of wiring or something wrapping around these pylons all the way down, and then the pylons are connected to this like foundational base.
Oh wow. Yeah, I've heard Brian Forrester mention before that, and I've reiterated that from what he said, that 90% of ancient Egypt is subsurface, and all the little megalithic sites you see on the surface is, like I said, a very small portion of what's actually there. And he's been down in some of these corridors. He's got like special approval, and he said that they just go for miles, dude. And he'll go all the way to the end of one corridor, and there'll be another set of doors. He'll go through that set of doors. There'll be an armed military guard there. He shows him his clearance, carries on, and it's just a repeat, a constant repeat until he got so far in, and they said, "Yeah, sorry, you can't go any further from here," and turned him around.
Yeah, that's where the Greys and shit are walking around.
No, I would bet that the
You want to go in?
the Great Pyramid probably had something to do with food production, maybe not. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot we could do. There's a lot we could do with food production. We could you get a bunch of seeds and then grow a plant and do different things to the plant and just see whatever one's the best. Block out this light, introduce a magnetic field, play a frequency. You know what I'm saying? There's like a zillion different put it inside of a pyramid made of crystals with a frequency, with a magnetic field. Like there's so much shit you could do. It's crazy. Like I don't know how we don't know this yet.
Well, there
Jeremy,
is
you're segueing. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dieslow.
there is some truth to this whole pyramid power thing. Like if you were to take a like a pyramid shaped magnet, it focuses the magnetic field to like almost like a laser point source. So there are some interesting things with the pyramidal geometry involving magnetics that Ken talks about. Go ahead, Flower.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Jeremy lit up another light bulb. There's this guy that I follow. He's like one of the top leading, I guess, LED light builders for, in the grow world. I don't know how else to say it, but he's created these LED strip bars that have all spectrum. Like it's all spectrum specific. You can go from one end all the way to the other and dial the diodes all the way. Like you can even have HPS output from the LEDs. It's really gnarly. And so, like you were talking about, Jeremy, that's about to start happening. The guy's name is GML Grandmaster LEDs or Grandmaster level LEDs. He's out of Canada. And yeah, he's like pushing the market right now for all these huge lights that are all very, very spectrum specific. So you can actually find out and test, run monocrops next to each other and see what the variances would be depending on, those withheld spectrums like you're talking about.
I mean, dude, yeah, like you put some seeds in a magnetic pyramid. You just do it in a lab, bro. All controlled. You know what I'm saying? You got two of the same seeds. One of them you put in a magnetic pyramid. One of them you don't. You grow the seed, see what happens. All the same conditions, and you just keep doing that
It's
over
already
and
been
over
done.
again. And
Yeah,
not
it's
only
already been.
that, hold on. Not only that, you could do that with. I would start with mice. I like mice experiments. There's a lot of cool mice experiments, but you do that shit with mice too. You know what I'm saying? What if you can get a mouse to live like 100 years or some shit because you kept it inside of a magnetic pyramid field or some, you know what I'm saying?
You're always trying to torture the poor mice, bro. Leave the mice alone.
What if we take the frogs that they turned gay and then made them live forever?
Oh snap! Um, but what you're talking about, Jeremy, involving magnetic exposure with biologics has been tested heavily. There's two famous scientists by the name of Rawls and Davis who wrote a total of 5 books together, and they've showed this how magnetic seed exposure has huge effects on the crop, positive and negative depending on which side of the magnetic field it's exposed to. Um, so yeah, there's a shit ton of evidence for that, and it's to the point where like it almost feels like mainstream's kind of covering a lot of that up. Like one of the books you'd be hard pressed to even find a copy of on the internet. So it's, in my
Yeah,
opinion, that's evidence of gatekeeping. Go ahead.
well, it's like big pharma, dude. You know what I'm saying? They gate kept weed for mad long because they didn't want people to be able to heal themselves for cheap. We could just grow weed everywhere. If the same thing's going on with food and they're gate, like if I could have just a few plants in my house and they're just like constantly producing massive amounts of food and shit, like people would just do that. You know what I'm saying? And then we wouldn't have to go spend our money at Walmart and all the stores and shit.
One vegetable that I think is a good testing vegetable is alpha sprouts, because it only takes about a week from seed till harvest.
Yeah, microgreens are crazy. There's a lot of microgreens like that where they just grow in like a week or so.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if you wanted to experiment with like magnetic seed exposure, that would probably be a good one to do it with. And I think Ken's got like at least 10 videos on that.
Were you guys on a first name basis?
Yes. Kenny. Kenneth. But yeah, you should try that, flowers. Go buy like a N45 neodymium Gauss magnet, and I think it's the south facing side. You stick it like right underneath your medium or your pot, whatever you're growing in, and see if that particular plant yields a better harvest than the one across from it per se.
What Dieslow said, do what I say. Get a control seed. Get a control seed, and then get 2 magnets. Do one on the north side, one on the south side, and then out of all 3 of those, see which one grows better. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that wouldn't be a bad way to do it.
That is the best way to do it. What do you mean? It's better than your way.
It's my way or the highway, bro.